people who are doing Uber or delivering for Instacart. We see what's been happening with a lot of those apps, making it really hard to actually bring in some income. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen with substitute teaching. The salaries are only going up and the availability also is going up. We need your help. If you or someone you know is in need of extra cash or a flexible gig, this is especially for you. We are going to talk about the easier grades and how to manage any classroom so the kids love you and request you directly. Have you ever wondered what the workday of a substitute teacher is actually like? Don't worry, I'm going to keep it real. I'll tell you how to manage a classroom as a substitute or guest teacher, and I might even have some pictures you would like to see. Everything that I'm telling you today is going to be the honest to goodness truth about how to make the most of this and still be a responsible adult. Keep in mind that some of my methodology is just a personal way of doing things, and maybe you don't want to go in taking all my advice. I went in doing all of these things right away and never had any problems, and I was a preferred sub. I had people calling me. I was often offered long-term opportunities. So just keep these things in mind as I go a little bit deeper into the video. I want you to know there is some truth to students kind of being on edge before a sub walks into the room. But if you have the right attitude going in about what it is you're really here to do and why, I promise I can help make it better and easier for everybody. My recommendation is to choose the easier grades, and I do have some tips on how to manage a classroom that I think are tried and true because I did them myself and they always worked. In the classrooms they didn't work in, it was usually those schools with those teachers or those certain grades that was just like, nope, I knew I shouldn't have done it and I'm not coming back. I do have some tips and tricks and hacks, and I do consider myself a seasoned professional. So here's what you need to know. On your first day and beyond, why do I think you should never, ever, ever pick pre-K through third grade? Well, because you're going to be mommy or you're going to be daddy, all right? And it's going to suck. I know that some of you might even have kids this age. I think kids this age are adorable with their little lispy little, you know what I mean? And they're just so smart and they know things, but they're also like curious. Oh, they're super cute, but super annoying when there's 40 of them. Sometimes 30 of them at a time are crying about dumb things. This is a very weird, fast growing, a lot of questions and whys. It's too many kids to babysit at once, period. So if you're interested in that group, you think you want to teach that group, I do recommend checking it out, trying it out, but I would never recommend that group to substitute teachers. I actually have completely cut out middle school. Yep, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, wouldn't do it. Why? Because they're even more hormonal than the third graders. Third grade is, I know you're thinking, so 4th and 5th grade are cool? Why not third grade? It's just 1 year. Nope. No, that is a very hormonal year for them. Not doing it. The same thing with middle school. And middle school kids, I don't know if you've noticed, I don't know if you have any around you, but they are terrifying. So no middle school. Art is a very good, because you don't just have to pick to do a single grade. You can choose to do an elective where you see a bunch of different groups of kids. And I think that's actually cool. If you do art, you might see a kindergarten class, but guess what? It's only for 20 minutes because by the time they file in, get in their seats, you do roll, and then you finally start the activity, it's going to be dang near time to clean up. So it's really just a matter of keeping them busy for a little while, all right? I think that art in elementary school is an excellent place to be. Art in high school, some of the artsy-fartsy types in high school I noticed had a little bit of an attitude problem and were very pushy and their art teachers usually let them be very free. I experienced this across the states, so I think this is just a normal thing. I was an artsy-fartsy student and I had a little mouth on me too, not surprising. So I would really say if you're going to take an elective like that, stick with elementary school where they're just excited to be there. This isn't their life purpose, and they're not trying to tell you that they know more than you do about clay sculptures. Okay, all right. I also would say choose electives like science, history, but also if you don't mind being outside, especially if you like to be outside, if you're an athletic type, you're trying to get fit, get buff, whatever, choose PE. Sounds awesome. I really recommend that though, high school students. These classes, the kids are usually going to be just happy that there's no teacher there. I will talk to you a little bit about how to handle elementary school kids and high school kids differently, okay? So let's actually talk about that a little bit, how to manage a classroom as a substitute or a guest teacher. So with grades 4 and 5, this to me is the elementary school sweet spot. These kids are usually going to want to be the big kids. The fourth graders especially, they're like really excited to be fifth graders and they kind of want to prove like how grown they are. And the fifth graders are like, elementary school, I've been there, done that. And so they often, those classrooms can run themselves, even though they're not high school aged. They have the mentality of like adult kids, if that makes any sense. Like if you're talking about the grownness, I think middle school kids go into just being almost deviant at that age. That's the ages where they really, really push it. But that fourth and fifth grade are some of the more mature youth ages before the mouthiness starts and things get too crazy. They're not too emotional and whiny and please help me tie my shoes. And it's not going to feel like babysitting like third grade and down. And they're not going to be kind of scary because like, how are you taller than me? You know, like middle school, still struggling with their emotions that, you know, you're not going to be dealing with that. So what I would recommend is when you walk into any classroom, you take over the whiteboard. Every adult is different. Every adult has different preferences. This is something you need to tell your kids in fourth and fifth grade. You need to say, look, you come into this class every day. Your teacher has all these rules. These rules on your walls, because they're usually on the walls, these apply to you. I also have a couple of things that I would like for you to do. So in addition to your classroom rules, these rules now apply. Stop and think. Number one, this tells them you expect them to have an answer for why they just made a mistake. It's one of the best things. It's a really good hack because it says, hey, before you do something, think about it. And it actually works. You kind of see them like, Okay, the second one, try harder. This means if they come up to you and they're like, I can't, you can say, what's rule number 2? And they go, oh, try harder. And then they usually go get the answer. Be kind. This is an easy one because you can just say, point at rule number 3. You can't tell them that's what I'm doing. I'm pointing at rule number 3 right now. And I'm looking at the child in the eyes and giving them that mom face like, yeah, that. And they're usually like, oh, sorry. Be respectful. This is kind of going to go hand in hand with be kind. And this is about making sure that if there's anything that they do that's just kind of nasty, they understand that you're the kind of adult that doesn't find that appropriate. Some adults think it's funny. Some adults like sarcasm and nastiness. But in our classroom, I'm not dealing with that because it's going to cause way too much drama. And they know that. Be aware of hands and feet. Do you notice the wording here? Because they know keep your hands to yourself. But what I always do is I tell them this story. And you can steal my story if you want. I always used to tell them, and this was real actually, that there was a student she always liked to play with her pencil, playing around, throwing her pencil, no big deal, fine. But one day she had her pencil in her hand and she stretched back to yawn and poked her fellow student in the eye. Well, she got her on the corner of the eye. She didn't poke her eye out. But just because she wasn't paying attention and she wasn't being aware, she still got in trouble because it kind of looked like maybe she was trying to do something on purpose. It wasn't her fault. But I said, look, you got to be more aware. You can't be flailing about. You got to, think about what you're doing. And you'd be surprised. I pretty much have eliminated any kind of issue with fighting, let alone accidents. And the last one is the most important one for fourth and fifth grade. Work together as a team. This tells them that they now have a chance as a collective to have a great day or a bad day. And it's up to them to work together. And I usually say, police yourself. Before I come up to you, you should tell your fellow classmates, hey, she told us to be quiet and you're screaming. Please be quiet. I even tell them, don't be nasty. You don't have to shut up. Don't do that. But just say, hey, check out the board. It says we're supposed to be quiet right now. And it works. The bonus I put on the side says smile. I put the volume level on the board. I tell them 0 is silent, 1 is whisper, 2 is regular voices, and 3 is we can have a little bit of a fun activity here. And the number on the board also next to it has another number. And this is the number of chances every classroom gets. They get 3 chances. And sometimes if they're really, really good, I'll add chances to the board. So what that tells them is at any point in time, my rules are on the board. I give them pretty much free reign to run their classroom just because their teachers usually by 4th and 5th grade do the same thing with them. They're very mature on their own. You can kind of let them do what they need to do and you're there to answer questions. The rules are going to tell you that you need to be standing at all times. I will tell you, I've never had anybody come and ask me to stand, and anytime I've been in a classroom with a teacher, they're sitting at their desk. So you at your own discretion decide how you want to do things. But for me, being able to sit sometimes I get up and I walk around, but sitting at the desk, allowing me to kind of get work done while I'm facilitating their day properly. I'm not just going to ignore them. I'm not just going to throw a movie on. I'm doing everything the teacher has asked me, but I'm basically allowing them to help me, help them have a good day so that I can leave their teacher a really, really good note. That's it. It's easy. Remember, with elementary school kids, there are certain classes where you're not going to be able to sit down because they're going to be running all over anyways. You are going to have to walk these kids all over the school every time they need to change classes, every time they need to go to lunch. Okay, so sometimes it could be hot, sometimes it could be far, depending on how big the school is. Certain schools are going to ask you to cover during your planning period. So maybe the teacher usually gets a period off. They'll go in and be like, oh, you know what? Why don't you do this too? Some schools are nasty about it too. Like they will not give you any time off. They're like, subs are going to work for it around here. There are people like that. And then there are schools that are like, you don't have to stay for dismissal. That's stupid. You don't even know the kids' names. You don't know anything. You'd just be another body kind of in the way more than anything. And they tell you to leave. It's up to you if you want to maintain that connection with these places. Okay. That's what I can tell you about 4th and 5th grade. Grade 9 through 12. This is the amount of work that you can get done doing grade 9 to 12. I don't know what kind of work you do, but this is great for like if you're a student, is great for just anything where you have a lot of work that you're able to do without maybe needing to be on a computer or something like that. When you get into a grade 9 through 12 classroom, you're going to write your name and the date on the board. Why? Because high school students are going to ask you 13 times a class, what date is it? What's the date?
Miss, what's today?
Hey, Miss, what's today? Miss, what's today? Okay, so here's what goes on the board. 4 things. Very simple. You write your name, you write your date, and then you write these 4 things. Be respectful. That lets them know don't try you. Respect is number 1. Yeah, it's kind of like the gangster mafia. You're like, yeah, what's up? Respect. Number 2, let others work. This lets them know I don't give a crap if you work. I don't care what you do. Just shut up. Just shut up, okay? No, but it does. It lets them know, hey, you can't ruin the classroom environment. No cussing. And I tell them, I don't care what you say. If I hear it, I have a problem because I can't cuss in school. Miss, you can cuss. No, I can't. Because if right now the principal walked in and I was like, cussing, what would happen? They're like, yeah, miss, you right. Again, they're going to say stuff to you about everything you say, but it's easy to just come on. And the last thing is you write phones silent. I actually usually wrote no phones, but I explained. And this is usually what I said, okay? This is like pretty much my speech. Ready? Sit where you want. Don't bother people who want to do their classwork. If you don't want to learn or work, I'm not going to force you, but let everyone else do their work. In case an administrator walks in, you should have a pencil out and whatever the work is in front of you. If I can't cuss, you can't either. Keep the volume at a minimum because y'all are grown. If I have to ask more than once, we can go silent. You can have your phone out, but I don't want to hear it. If I hear your headphones or your phone, we can go silent. So if you hear someone's headphones, let them know so that you don't have to be quiet. Otherwise, I'm cool. Just don't try me. That's my speech. That's it. And you know what happens? I've seen it where somebody has their headphones up too loud and someone will kind of pull their headphones out and look over at them and tap their ear and say, I can hear your headphones. And they'll, oh, okay. And they'll turn it down. Police yourself. Again. Here's the thing. I do think in high school, you will sit the whole day and there's really no problem with it. In fact, because most of the students walk themselves to and from class, you don't even have to get up. This is really great for people who want to spend most of their day in AC. Certain schools will ask you to cover your planning period, but for the most part, when I'm done, I leave notes directly on the sheet. Usually the teachers will leave you like a printout. On that same printout, I have like checked off everything that they've asked me to do as we've done it. I leave all the names on the bottom of the page, kind of like a scale of like A+ to F of how the behavior has been for every single student. It might sound like a lot, but usually by halfway through the day, you can kind of tell who's going to go where. And it really makes the students like you because then the students here, you have like a scale, like a A+ thing. And when the teacher's here, there's 3 or 4 kids that you were like, hey, they were outstanding. All the kids want to be on your list. So the next time you come, you see there's a whole system here. It's really easy to set it up. I just kind of let them know how each activity went. Boom, they come back in. The same sheet they left me is there. They know the work is done. The work is probably underneath the sheet, if anything. They've got a list of how the kids did. And the kids tell them that they had a great time with me because they want me back because I wasn't mean to them. Now in high school, I do leave a note for each class period and I kind of just name any students that were really ridiculous or anything that looked kind of weird. Like one time I kind of uncovered a theft ring where they were stealing like AirPods from people. So like, oh, anyways. And then I just kind of stacked the worksheets class by class. I wiped the board at the end of the day so they don't see my little notes I had up and that's that. So if you've ever wondered what the workday of the substitute teacher is really like, this is it. It's pretty simple. It's exactly what you would think of from the perspective of being a student. And really the nicer you are, nice but still strict, the more likely the students are to be cool with you. And as long as they don't feel threatened, they're not going to push back. I think that you can really make decent money 180 days a year doing this pretty easy work. There is minimal investment, and for most of you, you can think of 5 or 6 schools that are within a few miles of you. Plus, the easier grades, it can make it to where you basically are getting paid to do nothing. And if you can manage the classrooms properly, the kids will love you, they'll request you directly, you'll stay busy all the time. So if you or someone you know is in need of extra cash or a flexible gig, this video is something I think should be shared all around. We've got a substitute teacher shortage, and if more of us signed up to make a little bit of side money doing this, people who are doing Uber or delivering for Instacart, we see what's been happening with a lot of those apps, making it really hard to actually bring in some income. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen with substitute teaching. The salaries are only going up, and the availability also is going up. We need your help. So get out there and make your extra money. Go have a little bit of fun being a kid again, and make sure you decide to be the cool sub, because that's what makes it even easier on you. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that maybe you'll decide to share it with somebody who you think probably needs to know this information. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay, maybe new videos out every Wednesday or Saturday. I don't know. I'm not really sure just yet. Hopefully, maybe, probably. But I'm gonna try to maybe entertain you guys a little bit later. Okay, love you. Bye. Okay, bye.